Dr. Rai, is it audible?
Dr. Rai, please switch on your microphone. Dr. Manas Rai, please switch on your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Sir,
right.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
So, Professor Tripathi, so should we start now or?
Sir, for the next 1 hour, I am at your disposal, sir.
Oh.
so as you deem fit, sir.
Okay, thank you. I think Mr. Aruna Patnaik has not joined, so let us wait for a few minutes. So I think it is already late. So let us hope that Mr. Patnaik, Mr. Aruna Patnaik, he will join subsequently. So let us start the session. So a very good afternoon to one and all. So at the outset, I must welcome our Honorable President and founder of ASBM University, Professor Biswajit Patnaik, our esteemed Vice Chancellor, Professor Kalyan Shankar Rai, our eminent speakers, participants, faculty members. So a hearty welcome to our 52nd webinar of ASBM University on the topic Career on Law. So it is conducted by our ASBM School of Law with an object to make aware the participants about the scope of law, scope of legal education, and the new opportunities available to the students after getting a law degree. So today we have with us three eminent speakers, Dr. Manas Shankar Rai, Mr. Aruna Patnaik, as well as our Professor Rangin Pallav Tripathi. All the three speakers are from different field of legal profession. So I request all of them to join in our webinar. So in the beginning, I must invite Dr. Manas Shankar Rai, an experienced corporate legal professional. He is the founder partner of Nidan Law Chamber and also former Chief Commissioner of Income Tax, as well as Executive Director of SEBI. So I welcome you, sir, to share your views with the participants. So I request Dr. Rai to please share your views with the participants. Dr. Rai.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Das, for the kind introduction. And I must thank the ASBM University and its management for organizing this webinar and inviting me to speak in this. I must say this, the topic of the webinar, Career in Law, is very timely and very topical. But before I venture into the subject itself, I'm reminded of a popular song of our childhood days. I mean, many of the parents here will remember it. It's called Que Sera Sera. It was sung and acted by Doris Day in Alfred Hitchcock's movie, The Man Who Knew Too Much, the 1956 vintage. I mean, that around the time that we were born. Now, in this song, which was featured in the film itself, a young girl is asking her mother about her future. And the song goes like this. When I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be pretty? Will I be rich? Here is what she said to me. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future is not ours to see. What will be, will be. Now, this is the song which has remained in the popular chart for almost 50 years. Now, this epitomizes what we call carefree fatalism. Carefree fatalism or cheerful fatalism, acceptance of whatever life has in store for you. But I wish life was so as simple as this, particularly at the time and in the place that we all live in. Now, you ask any of the young participants, I'm told that this webinar is being attended by many young men and women who are looking for a career either in law or in any other subject, and some of their parents are supposed to be present also. So if you ask any of these young persons, I mean, what is it to look for a career or to choose a career or to land a career, you will get the depth of the doubts and anxiety, despondency, nightmarish preparations, that too over extended periods of time, which go into trying to choose a suitable career and to land that career. Now, all of us know it starts around class 11. Sometimes parents are more, or maybe the kids themselves are more excited. Start sometimes in class 8. Endless debates within the family, including the extended family, uncles, aunts, cousins, with the peer group, seniors, teachers, aptitude tests, multiple aptitude tests, job shadowing. Now this is also in that people go to law firms and to maybe to accounting firms and to maybe to cyber cafe, not cyber cafe, but IT firms, to understand what the job is like, what is there in store for them. And then finally, you try out various coaching classes to see what is the flair of the preparation, the rigors of preparation, and you zero in on a chosen career path. So this is a long drawn, exercise in a country like ours, where too many, bright young students are there and opportunities are less. So this, the seminar, the purposes of this seminar comes here. The purposes of this seminar is to arm you with adequate information to understand what can you expect out of a career in law, and in turn, what is expected of you if you choose a career in law, so that you are able to take an informed decision. The idea is that if you take an informed decision, most likely there will be, reduced chances of error and chances of regrets at later stage in life. We have seen n number of people who, just venture into a career by chance, by accident, by hearsay, and then somewhere, down the line, they start regretting, and they're never at peace with the career itself, which is a very, very difficult thing to do. So now, the career in law, but to appreciate a career in law, we must first understand law as a subject. Professor Das has taught donkey years law in a very prestigious university college, Manivir Law College. We have with us Professor Tripathi teaching in the National Law School in Odisha. And I think Arunav will join soon. He is a practicing lawyer. So we must understand law as a subject. Now, the law as a subject, I mean, for you may be knowing, is as old as society itself. Now, when human beings started coming together, living as communities, living as societies, there was a need for rules and regulations. Rules and regulations are required so that human conduct is regulated, so that the societies can live together, communities can live together and prosper. So this subject is as ancient, I mean, could be one of the most ancient subjects, maybe other than medicine or religion. I think this is the most ancient subject that you have. But is it only ancient? No. With the passage of time, law has evolved into many branches. You have, for a student who is for a young person who is wanting to study law, once you enroll for a course in law in any school, including the ASBM School of Law, you will be gradually introduced to the different branches of law. Now, what are the broad, branches of law? You have this traditional branches, which are constitutional law. Constitutional law is basically constitution, is the mother of all statutes, mother of all law. The remaining laws flow from the constitution. It gives you the fundamental rights. It gives you the directive principles of state policy. It gives you the division of power in a federation like ours, the division of power, the division of subjects between the union and the states. It gives you the different organs of the government, the legislature, the judiciary, the executive, and the checks and balances between them. So it's a mother thing, and there are constitutional debates, discussions, litigations. So constitutional law, you have to understand that. Then there's civil law. Civil law is basically relates to property and other rights that you have. Criminal law, crimes and punishments. Corporate law, company law is a pretty old subject and a very, very thriving subject. Then you have taxation, you have banking and insurance, you have service law also. Every sphere of human activity has a law kind of attached to it. So you have multiple, branches of law. You have international law. When we have to live in a committee of nations, states have to behave like we are seeing the war now in Ukraine, and there's a hue and cry because it's supposed to be a violation of international law. So you have international law, which is also includes maritime law, law of space. So these are all the traditional branches. So now there are modern, law has evolved as economy has evolved, expanded, law has also evolved. So there are modern laws also, modern branches like securities law. Securities law is what in India, the SEBI, where I worked for long years, the SEBI, is the regulator for that. That organizes, your listings of companies, public issues and all that, insider trading, takeover code and all that. Then you have competition law. Competition law is basically you have this Competition Commission of India that looks at abuse of dominant position in the marketplace, anti-competitive behavior, because marketplace has to have a level playing field for all the participants. So if somebody is misusing it or abusing it, this competition law comes into being. Cyber law, we are facing it day in and day out, the cyber crimes and cyber law. IP, the intellectual property law, relates to trademarks, brandings and trademarks, etc. Environmental law, you have this green tribunal, which is very, very fancy now. So now these are the modern subjects. So when you enroll into a 5-year integrated BA LLB or BBA LLB program, so these are the subjects that you will be encountering. Not necessary, you have to study all subjects, but not necessary that as a career, when you choose all subjects together. You have to choose one of the subjects or maybe few of the subjects. So, and in an integrated 5-year course, that it's a BA, it's a graduation plus a law degree. So if it's a BA LLB, what I understand is they will be teaching you political science, sociology, certain other subjects plus law. And if it's BBA, they'll be teaching you accounting, management, and plus law. So basically, if you do a 3-year graduation and followed by a 3-year law, which was the earlier pattern of law, you have basically what you call 6 years. Here it's a 5-year integrated program, a dedicated program tailored specifically for lawyers, which will bring you, up to date with the subject and keep you ready for the market. Now, let's see what are the skill sets. See, I choose to study law. I enroll for an integrated program. Now, what are the, uh, tell me, Professor Das, am I with you? Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir. Yes, sir,
Okay.
you are audible.
Okay. I think there's some glitch in the computer. That's okay, no problem.
No, sir. Sir, it is audible.
Okay. So now, what are the skill sets? I devote five years into this, and what are the skill sets that I develop? Other than learning law as a subject, of course you learn law as a subject, but what are the other skill sets? The other skill sets that you will develop is logical thinking, because law is logics, deductive, inductive, and all that. Law is logic. Analytical thinking. You are supposed to distinguish the grain from the chaff. Okay, you will be faced with thousands of materials, reams and reams of papers that your clients will give you regarding the fact situation, but you have to see what is relevant for a particular purpose, what law applies to it, and how to present it. So logical thinking, analytical thinking, ability to connect. See, ability to connect as a lawyer is very, very important. See, you might have come across a case law somewhere 2 years ago. You might have come across a fact situation 5 years ago, or an argument which is maybe 10 years ago. Okay. But when you are arguing before a court, or presenting to your client, or presenting to your investors, in whatever role as a lawyer you are performing, so you have to be able to connect and present it in a way that is coherent, that is acceptable, and that is persuasive. The third is the language skill. Language skill is very, very important as a lawyer, both written language as well as spoken language. Why written language? Because drafting is an essential part of legal profession, any kind of legal profession that you take up. Drafting of petitions, drafting of pleadings, drafting of submissions, and if you are in a corporate law atmosphere, drafting of presentations, drafting of contracts. Drafting is very, very important. This is what we normally learn in our school days, pressy writing. It's a much more skilled way of pressy writing, where you have all the details which are relevant, but you skip out the irrelevant details. So drafting, and how to persuade, thinking of the judge, thinking of somebody through the drafting. Now, a presentation, of course, it's drafting is not enough. You have to present it before your audience. Audience can be court, audience can be an investor, audience can be a jury in a Western court. So when you're presenting, you're arguing, there is articulation involved. So you are basically performing in a public platform. So oratory skills, everything will come into play, and this is what you develop when you are studying law in a 5-year integrated program, which was not there when we studied law. When we studied law, it was rather a subject like any other subject, but these are now tailor-made programs, 5-year integrated. This take care of these things to the extent that, you will be surprised that the other day I met a young actor. I told her, "What are you doing other than acting?" She said that I'm offering a course at NLS Bangalore, the National Law School Bangalore. I said, "What are you offering?" She said, "I'm offering acting as a tool of advocacy." So, because it's very important, your intonation, your voice modulation, your gestures, finally, you have to have the audience with you. Whatever an actor does on the stage, you are basically performing in whatever 5 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, whatever time you get before your audience, which is a court or a tribunal or anybody else, or a forum or whatever. You have to perform. So acting is also involved there. So you can see how well-rounded personality grows out of a law school. Then what is required is a court craft. Court craft is essential. You see, you have celebrated lawyers who take very, very difficult cases. I remember Ram Jethmalani. I had the good fortune of meeting him in Bombay, where I was posted for a long time. So I met him once along with his son, Mahesh. And then I asked that you take the most difficult cases, the cases which the society despises, cases of maybe terrorists, maybe whatever. The society, normally the press, the society, media, everybody is against. So how do you succeed? He says it's the court craft. So court craft meaning whatever case that you're fighting, this side, that side, you have the judges with you. You have the bench with you. The bench understands where you are coming from, and the bench is prepared to listen to you. So that is court craft, and they are also acting, and other things are required. Then you have negotiation, skills of negotiation and conciliation. Now gradually, litigation is getting to be past, getting to be outdated. More and more, arbitration, conciliation, these are alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. These are coming to the fore. In fact, many cases the court says you go for arbitration. So as a lawyer, you have to develop skills as a negotiator, as a conciliator. So this is a very, very essential skill. So basically, at the end of 5 years, you are empowered to take up multiple roles in society, And so there we come to what are the roles that you can expect, which is our subject, the career in law. I would rather call it careers in law, because it's not one career. There are multiple careers after this 5-year course. See, what are the possible careers that one can think of? See, the first and foremost, of course, is litigation. You join the bar. And in fact, I think Dr. Tripathi will be with me, because the national law schools have been established with the avowed purpose of raising the quality of bar, the standard of bar in India. Okay, so basically you join the bar, you argue before the Supreme Court, High Court, sessions, district courts, tribunals, wherever you are, whatever the fora, you basically become an advocate. And then leading from there is judgeship also. After doing certain, as a lawyer, practicing as a lawyer for a certain amount of years, certain number of years, you can also, if you like and if you're selected, you can join the High Court as a judge, and later on, if you have time and if you're bright, you go to the Supreme Court. So there's a judgeship also there. Then the other one I already mentioned, second one, arbitration and conciliation. You can have domestic arbitration, you can have international arbitration. International arbitration basically in Singapore, London, New York. So these are also very, very important fora of law practice. Then you have corporate law. You see, after this, the 5-year courses started, the N schools started coming. Now in India, we have something called law firms, the big ones, Amachan Mangaldas or AZB or whatever. The law firms, they practice basically the corporate law. The deals, the corporate deals, restructuring, mergers and acquisitions, public issues, contracts drafting, vetting, all that kind of thing comes under corporate law. Then you can join a company also in their legal department. Every company worth its name has a legal department, which is a very important part of the company's functioning. You can join as a general counsel, and very well paying jobs that too. You can join maybe a bank. You can every organization worth it has a law department attached to it. The next, you can join the regulatory organizations. Now there's a plethora of regulatory organizations in our countries: RBI, SEBI, IRDA, Competition Commission. You can join any of those as a lawyer, and you have a good career ahead of you. You can join the defense services. The defense services were so much in news for wrong reasons recently now. But as a lawyer, you have less competition. Believe me, if you want to join the NDA, join through the NDA or the IMA, the competition is too much, because you're competing with anybody in the country. Whereas the legal team, legal stream is an expert stream where the competition is less and life is better. So you can join the defense services also. Then, of course, you can join academics like the two professors we have on the podium today. You can join academics teaching law, particularly in the integrated 5-year law courses with bright students around. It's a very, very satisfying and fulfilling experience. If you do a PhD and maybe do an LLM abroad, life is set. I mean, you have to actually enjoy your career as a teacher or a researcher. Then you have policy research. Now, policy research is very important because there are think tanks which employ lawyers in a big way. So you do policy research, you aid in policy formulation. So that is there. Then you have legal outsourcing. See, in Western world, developed countries, law is a very, very high cost assignment. So many times these are outsourced to India. Like business process outsourcing, you have legal outsourcing also. So that also is there. You can join multilateral organizations, UN, WHO, whatever. I mean, World Bank, as a lawyer. That also is there. Now there are allied fields. This is law as a traditional field. There are allied fields where the lawyers can shine. They have a chance to get in, a better chance to get in than other persons. Now, what are the allied fields? Civil service, which I did for long years. In civil service, law is a subject, and I know many young kids, young bright lawyers from law schools who have joined civil service in very high positions. Journalism is a very good course. Then public service. See, public service. Public service, before public service, let me mention NGOs. NGOs require actually lawyers because they have to, fight for the rights and things like that of the people. So they require lawyers. Social activism requires lawyers. Then public service. Public service is full of lawyers only. You have seen the independence movement. You name Nehru, Gandhi, Tilak, Jinnah, Patel, Rajendra Prasad, you name anybody, they were all lawyers. Internationally, you see, you have starting from Abraham Lincoln to Obama to Nelson Mandela and also Vladimir Putin. He is a graduate of international law. So public service is available to you. Now there are other fields also, which are neither traditional legal careers nor allied careers, but where people have, you see, if you ask me, I know about 40% of national law school pass outs are doing things which are different from law. So what are these things which are different from law? See, they are into something called brand management, different brands, different companies, huge corporates, brand management, celebrity management, film stars, rock stars, football stars. They all require lawyers as part of their management team. Election management. We all know about Prashant Kishore and his team. What it is full of lawyers. I know a couple of young lawyers who are part of Prashant Kishore's team because they can analyze, they can anticipate, so they can guide the party as to which way to speak, which way to move. So election management, party spokesperson. You will see more often than not the party spokespersons are lawyers. So all these fields are available to you post a law qualification. So these are careers in law, careers allied to law. And then you can also combine law with another degree, combine law with a management degree, an MBA, combine law with accountancy. Then your skill sets are absolutely par excellence. Nobody can match you. In nutshell, I'll tell you that law, empowers you to venture into many successful careers, many highly paying careers. In fact, in the Western world, law is one of the most highly paid, is the highest paid professions that you can have. So, and not only the pay, the social standing. You see, I've narrated people who have done law. Now also in the present parliament, you have maximum lawyers. You have Sibal, you have Chidambaram, you have Manu Sangvi, you have lawyers are there everywhere. Now, what is the unique benefit of law as a profession compared to other profession? You have medicine, you have accountancy, now you have IT as a profession. Now, what are the unique benefits of law as a profession? One is that I'll call it's evergreen. Okay, other professions, if I am an investment banker, now if it's a market, there's a boom, I have my job ready. If there's a bust, the market, there's a recession, no company coming for any public issue, my shop is shut. Okay. But law, whether there's boom or bust, law as a career will remain, litigations will remain, disputes will remain, contracts will remain. So law doesn't care for times, it's evergreen. So, and you can operate from any place. Any place meaning if you want to stay in a small town, there are district courts, there are sub-judge courts. I know in my town, sub-judge court or district court now, there are people who have made excellent careers. Okay, and they are very well reputed in their field, in their district, in their subdivision, nothing wrong in that. So you can be there, you can be at a place where the High Court has its High Court is situated, it's a state capital or an important city. Then you can migrate to metro cities where all the law firms are there, Supreme Court is there, other opportunities are there. So it is at any place. That I cannot say of many professions. Doctors can be at some places, but other professions need to be in particular. If I'm an IT fellow, I have to be in Bangalore. If I have this thing, I have to be there. That kind of a thing. Now, then law is another thing you can join at any age. At any age, because if you have a law degree now, I mean, for some reason you don't want to do law, you want to do journalism after doing law. After 10 years, you want to come back to law, you can always come back. Okay, this is not true of medicine or any other profession, because that requires a different kind of being at it. So at any age. So then there is no retirement. Law has no retirement. You see, Mr. Ram Jetmalani is now beyond 90 years. Our accountant, AG KK Venugopal, he's just being given an extension. He's 92, and he's the highest law officer of the country. He's being given an extension in 92. So there's no retirement. Other jobs, other professions, they'll kick you out at 60. My job kicked me out at 60. And if you're a professor, you are lucky to be there till 65, 70. Beyond that, you are also out. So legal profession, you are there till you drop dead. And there's a flexibility. Flexibility in the sense, you look at the present ministers, when they're in the government, they're ministers. They're not in the government, they are lawyers. Okay, so there's no bar. I can't do it. Think of a doctor who joins the government, becomes a minister, after 5 years, he comes and opens his, a clinic or hospital, whatever. I don't think that is possible. So that is there. And to top it all, it's a very, very exciting career. There's not a single dull moment, because all cases are different, fact situations are different, law is different, and law amendments are there, law is evolving. More than the statute, the case laws are evolving. Clients are different, the judge is different. So there's not a single dull moment. If you ask me why is Venugopal practicing now at 92, he's not practicing because of money or because of fame. He has enough of it. He's practicing because every day is a challenge for him at his age also, and he enjoys it because of the excitement. So this is what the law as a profession gives you. I'm not wanting to put a very, very rosy picture, mind you. See, it also requires a lot of hard work, because young students, you listening to me, you don't think that it's a path of roses all the way. No, you have to put in the right labor, hard work. You have to be lucky. The amount of luck is important in anything that you do in life. But yes, there are chances of success more than other fields. Now coming to ASBM University, I'm really glad that they've launched this 5-year integrated BA, LLB, BBA, LLB program, and Dr. Das, Professor Das, is at the helm of affairs there. ASBM has made a name for itself in management education. They already have a BBA program, they have an MBA program. So this BBA law, many schools do not offer BBA law, they offer BA law, BSc law. So BBA law is a very, 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 very important subject. BA law is also important because they already have BA, MA programs, they have a BCom program. So this 5-year law program, I think I wish good luck, and I'm sure in times to come, it will be a great contribution. It will make a great contribution to legal education. in our country. So with that, I thank again the management and the participants to let me speak. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rai. So your deliberations are very educative. Even after 31 years of my career in law, I have never come across such type of deliberations. Really, you have expanded the horizon, and it is very educative, not only for me, even for all of us. Thank you, sir. So Mr. Patnaik, Aruna Patnaik has joined already. So we are late by 15 minutes. So please, all the participants, my request, please bear with us. So I must welcome Mr. Aruna Patnaik, an eminent advocate of Supreme Court of India. Mr. Patnaik is an experienced advocate, having lot of experience in resolving different kinds of litigation. So Mr. Patnaik, please join the session. Mr. Patnaik, Aruna Patnaik.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
First, I must say Dr. Ray has given us a very good overview of legal field as a whole and legal education and which paths a law student can take in a legal career. And there's so many different types of careers in law, is what he'll emphasize. I am a litigation lawyer in Delhi, and I have just entered into my 20th year of practice. I complete my LLB from Delhi University in the year 2003, and I registered the Bar Council Delhi in that year. I would want to focus the time that I have been given to speak on a very important aspect of law, but also just one of the many careers in law, that is litigation, because I have been a litigation lawyer for the last 20 years. For most people in India who don't have a legal background and who never entered a courtroom, the idea of litigation is what they get to see in Hindi movies, probably, of a lot of drama, a lot of theatrics which happens in the movie scenes that we get to see, where we find either in a very intense crime situation, a lawyer is defending his client or is prosecuting somebody. It gives us some idea of what litigation entails, but it's very dramatic, the way they present in the movies. All the things have improved with time, but still it's far removed from how things happen actually in the courtrooms. If one enters a courtroom, one finds very serious deliberations which are taking place on topics at times which one doesn't understand, unless a topic of contemporary relevance, something which is happening and being followed in the media, is being discussed in the courtrooms. It's only then that we can understand what's happening. Otherwise, it's difficult for a lay person to understand what is happening in a court proceeding. So what I would want to do with the time that I've been given is pick up a few cases that I have done as a litigation lawyer and speak in some detail about each of those cases. I thought of about 4 or 5 cases that I must share with you of different types that I've done over the last 20 years, which will give an idea as to what the job of litigation lawyer is, or what exactly he does when he talks about litigation. And after I deal with these cases, I will discuss generally about the earnings of litigation lawyer, as to what expectations a youngster should have when he joins litigation as a career. And the third topic that I'll deal with is there is a lot of thinking as to one needs to have a background to get into litigation, whether that is actually a reality in today's practice, the way practice happens in India. That's something which I will touch upon before I conclude. Now, to start with, the cases that I have dealt with, one deals with, on average, about at least 5-10 cases a week. In the last 20 years, probably I've done a couple of thousand cases, not more. I lost count of it. But the experience a litigation lawyer has is of a large variety of human problems where people have entered into disputes and they need to be sorted out in some way. That's what litigation lawyer does. He addresses human relation disputes in some way, finds the law to interpret and apply it to those fact situations, and then presents a case of a client before the court, and the judge decides ultimately what needs to be done. So he is just a pleader in that sense. So when I joined the bar in the year 2003, I joined my senior's office, Mr. Gopal Subramaniam, and I joined as the youngest member of the Parliament Attack prosecution team. I don't know how many of you would have heard that in the year 2001, the Indian Parliament had been attacked by 5 terrorists who had come from across the border. And they were later found to be members of the Jaish-e-Mohammed. And they had sought the help of some local people and had moved into the Parliament building with AK-47s and hand grenades, and there was a fight which broke out with security personnel out there, and all the 5 terrorists got killed on the spot, but also some 9 security personnel also got killed outside the Parliament building. So the senior that I joined, he was working on the Parliament as a special prosecutor for the Parliament Attack case, and the case was going on with Delhi High Court then. The trial court had already convicted 5 co-accused who were considered conspirators behind the terrorists, working behind the terrorists. So when I joined the team, first time I saw, after finishing my law, as to what litigation entails. It entailed poring over hundreds of pages of evidence which had been collected by the police, watching confessional tapes, police interrogation tapes over and over again, understanding weaponry, the forensics behind a lot of these weapons which were used, and the damage they could have done, and how the different deaths had taken place on the site, and understanding the anti-terrorism law of the country, which was POTA then, the Prevention of Terrorist Activities Act, which was enforced then. So it was very fascinating for a youngster. I was 25 years old then, in 2003 when I joined the team. And it was a very, very fascinating exercise. Dr. Ray mentioned about Mr. Jethmalani. Mr. Jethmalani was actually arguing for Professor Gilani from Delhi University, who was considered to be the mastermind behind the attack, only for the prosecution to be humbled later when he got an acquittal. That Mr. Jethmalani got an acquittal, saying that there's not enough evidence to convict Professor Gilani of Delhi University. And there were finally 2 convictions which happened. One, you must have heard of Afzal Guru, who was executed. It was a very controversial execution which also happened. He was given this sentence finally by the Supreme Court. And the Shaukat Hussain, who were the 2 people who were considered conspirators, and the case could be proved against them. So that was my first encounter with litigation as part of the Parliament Attack team. So from then on, when I had my own practice, I've had a wide variety of cases coming my way, and some of which I'll touch upon. The first case that I got in the Supreme Court, the year 2004, was of an ODR student who had taken the MBBS entrance examination, and he had qualified under the disability quota. So he had disability certificate, which he said that which was about 50%. But when the a medical board which was constituted by the SB Medical College examined him, they said no, his disability was not over 40%, which is the minimum requirement under the Disabilities Act for somebody to be a beneficiary of the disability quota. So he had taken up the dispute to the Odisha High Court, where he had lost his case, and so I had filed the case in the Supreme Court. I tried to argue it before the judge of the Supreme Court then. Unfortunately, we lost the case because his disability, the court came to the conclusion, was of a fluctuating kind, where it would fall under 40%, sometimes it would be not 40%. So things were not clear then, the law was not very well settled as to whether somebody who had a fluctuating disability like that of my client can be a beneficiary of reservation for a medical seat. That's just one example of a case, one kind of case that a lawyer can deal with or can come his way in the course of his career. The other kinds of cases pertain to sportspersons seeking equality with cricketers when it comes to attendance criteria, which many students can relate to. Sportsperson playing less well-known sports, not giving due weightage when it comes to admissions for professional courses, retrenched work-charged employees in public projects who have been discriminated against, workers laid off without following the process of law, retired persons not getting their pension because of some dispute management, or not getting the right amount of pension and fighting over years in courts to get the right level of pension that they think they're entitled to under the rules. So all kinds of cases comes a young litigation lawyer's way over the years. One interesting case that I remember doing after about 5-7 years into litigation practice was a case on behalf of a South Korean company which had been given a very lucrative contract to supply coaches, metro coaches to Delhi Metro. So it was a contract worth 3,600 crores, and the bidders were too many because it was such a lucrative and a big contract that we had all the biggest metro suppliers in the world who had bid for it and who had challenged the award of the contract to the South Korean company. So that dispute went from Delhi High Court eventually to the Supreme Court, and Dr. Ray mentioned about Mr. Venugopal. So Mr. K.K. Venugopal, this was in the year 2012 or 13. He must have been probably 82 years old, and he was leading us in that case. And I must tell you, it was an inspiration to see an 82-year-old lawyer, the enthusiasm with which he would prepare for the cases, and he would argue the case before the various benches of the court. That a 35-year-old lawyer found very, very fascinating, because it just goes to show that if one enjoys litigation as practice, then one can just go on and on. Right? So till one actually is physically incapacitated, from taking the pressures of practice anymore. But at the age of 92, he's still Attorney General of India, and he continues to argue cases, the biggest of cases, the most important case for the government. So the most important thing that I think a litigation lawyer, somebody who takes litigation as a career, has to keep in mind is that whether he or she likes the work which litigation practice involves. Now that is not an easy thing to know. It's not an easy thing to know for a law student. In India, unfortunately, we have very young students put in a life situation where they have to decide as to whether law is a career or not. For them, at the age of 17, 18, people are made to decide that, make that decision. That decision, I think, is not an easy decision to make. And decide whether litigation on top of it, whether litigation is a career choice that one can make and will like the profession or not. It's something which one wouldn't know till one has spent some 8-10 years in litigation practice. So when I know that there are young students who aspirants to study law, and there are a lot of parents who are also part of the audience today who are trying to understand as to what the career law entails and whether they should be guiding their boards into a field like law. What I would say is that yes, okay, if you are getting an opportunity to study law and you like the subject, one may just go ahead and study the subject and enjoy it. But you do keep your eyes and ears open as to which of the various lines which are available, a career which are available in law, appeals to you the most. Because today it's not just litigation practice. Earlier there weren't too many opportunities which were available to LLB graduate, but today there are a large variety of options which are open to a law graduate, which Dr. Ray outlined. And litigation is one of such option. It is a very exciting option for people who like it. For people who do not like the option, it can be a very, very frustrating option in the long term because there are a lot of struggles involved. Because I do understand that people, when they take to careers, they would want to immediately start earning, and that is one of the biggest considerations for youngsters. But litigation is a field which requires you to postpone your material desires because you do not earn that much in the first few years of practice. So it is, if you have patience and if you want if you like litigation as a profession, they need to have patience to wait to get to your financial rewards. It's not going to happen in the first few years, is one thing which I would like to underline to anybody who is looking at litigation as an option, career option. And the question as to how the earnings go up over a period of time, all I would say is that once a litigation career takes off and once you're enjoying it and once you're growing, it's sometimes I would say it's abnormally, the earnings are abnormally high at the end, at the top. And when I say it's abnormally high, I'm talking about top practitioners who earn somewhere between 20 to 25 lakhs per appearance, and sometimes they earn 1 crore per day. So these are real fees that we have given to senior lawyers in the Supreme Court. And you must have heard of these things. But when a litigation lawyer starts out in a senior's office, he gets paid a pittance, a very small amount of money. So to just give an example, what I was earning in a month in my senior's office, and who was a well-paying senior in those times when I joined the bar, I earn the same amount in one appearance today in the Supreme Court, the High Court. So only to say that as you gather experience and your skills improve, your earnings also start picking up exponentially after some time. But one needs to have that patience, at least to wait it out for 10, 15, 20 years to be able to see some good money. So if one does not have that kind of patience and, there are financial compulsions, sometimes you don't have that option. You have to earn to sustain your family. Then litigation is a difficult choice to make. But if you can weather out those first few years, then it can be a very, very financially rewarding profession as well. Now, coming to my third point as to does one need to be, one need to have a family background in law, because that's something which keeps coming up in the minds of a lot of people. As to be able to whether to join litigation, does one need to have a family background in law to be able to make it? Well, some of us have a family background, and it's unfortunately in India, whether it is business, whether it is film industry, whether it is the legal field, if you have a legal background, it helps. But what we notice over 15, 20 years, and I can see by seeing my friends who did not have legal backgrounds, who have joined at the bar and have struggled and built it up on their own is that after 10, 15, 20 years, it doesn't make a difference at all. So some of the top lawyers of the country did not have a legal background or a family background in law. And some top lawyers have it. Okay. But it is not something that you need to have to succeed in this field. So if you have the passion, the drive, the energy, and you're willing to put in the long hours, as Dr. Ray pointed out, you can make it in law. But it is a field which requires you to take, litigation is a field which requires you to take a very mature decision that before you jump into it. And sometimes maybe at a young age, you can do it for 2-3 years to see whether you like it or not to be able to sustain it over a long period of time. One suggestion I would have, I know ASBM is offering a 5-year law program, okay, which I think also comes with some age restrictions that you can't take students beyond 19 years or something like that, 19, 20 years. Okay. I did my law from Delhi University. And Delhi University did not have, I did a 3-year law program. I did not do a 5-year law program. I did it after my graduation. Despite coming from a legal background, I took my time to decide as to whether I should take to litigation or not. I thought it was the last composition that we had a lot of people who were doing already in the services, okay, government services, people who are academics, who are doing law. There are people who, housewives, who had decided to study law at a very late stage, in the late 30s, early 40s, okay, who could do law as a program. So I would suggest that if ASBM is starting a 5-year law program, it should also consider a 3-year law program, which are without age restriction, because it is not, law is not a field that one can take to so easily at the age of 17, 18, 19. It's a more complex field. And the average age at which people join law schools in the West, especially in the US, which has a very good legal program and legal education across universities, various universities, is in the mid to late 20s. So I read somewhere it was 26, 27, at age 26, 27, people enter law school in the US. So I think the problem that we have in India is that because there's so much pressure to decide on a career at a young age when you're finishing at 12th, and people are getting into either medicine or engineering. They have made law also as a career choice that way, that it's something that you can join to immediately after your 12th, and you set in a career. But what I have been noticing all around, and I've seen youngsters who come and join my join our offices, or colleagues at the bar, that many of them, after completing a 5-year law program, realize that law is not the field for them. So Dr. Ray mentioned about how people have joined either civil services, joined investment banking, nothing to do with law. They're not doing anything in their work with regard to law. They may have developed analytical skills in the law school, but nothing to do with law in the field that they're in right now. Or brand management. They do a large variety of things because they realize that their talents and interests lie elsewhere. So if we can also have programs where we can take students at a more mature age into the legal program, to the LLB courses, then I think it will be a much more rational and a wise way to train people than taking them at a very young age of 17, 18, 19. If people are joining the legal program, yes, you develop some analytical skills, critical thinking skills, but they need not necessarily continue in the field of law. So that's a loss to the field and to the education that they've got. So yeah, I would just want to wind up saying that, yeah, the best part of litigation practice is that, as Dr. Ray said, there's no retirement age. One can go on as long as one is fit. And the biggest advantage that we have as litigation lawyers is that we're not in a job. So we don't have bosses to report to. So we have our own independence, and which we really value very strongly. We can have an independent views. We can think of commenting on a lot of social and political issues. Join political parties, not join political parties, just have maintain our individual independent identities and express our views on things and enrich society in a wide variety of ways. So yeah, that's all I would like to say.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Patnaik, and you have highlighted of litigation advocacy. Really, that the basic, the original profession, that is the bar and bench profession, and you are enjoying that, and you have inspired the participants and the students that how one can succeed in the resolving the litigation of the society. It is a purely independent practice, and one can enjoy. You may get money maybe little bit later, but the beauty of advocacy is with resolving the litigation. So thank you, Mr. Patnaik. So we our another eminent speaker, because we are already late and I don't want to interrupt while delivering their experience, while sharing their valuable experience with the participants. So that's why we have to allow them to share their opinion. So we have with us Professor Rangin Vallabh Tripathi, who is a professor of law from National Law University, and he will share his experience regarding new opportunities available to the law graduates and the placement scope of the law students after obtaining a law degree. So, Professor Tripathi, I welcome you to share your views in this webinar.
Thank you, sir, and thank you to ASBM University for inviting me on this occasion. I would be brief for two reasons. Firstly, one of the disadvantages of speaking last, after two eminent people have already spoken at length about all the career prospects that a law student might pursue, there is not much left for me to explore, right? Secondly, I do have a follow-up meeting after this, which was supposed to start at right now at 4 actually, but I pushed it for another 10 minutes. So I'll just share my views about one aspect which I often feel gets neglected when people imagine a career in law, right? I was one of the rare ones who always wanted to be a teacher growing up, right? In my class, when I look back, I can't find many people who thought that, okay, my first goal is to become a teacher, right? And I often feel that that has a lot to do with lack of information, right? Apart from the other things that Dr. Rai and Mr. Patnaik mentioned, that you can follow when you get a degree in law, one of the other things that you can do is, get into teaching, get into research or academics. And for that, obviously, you will need an LLM degree after completing your BLLB degree. But with 1 year LLM being introduced, that's much simpler now than it was, a decade ago. And teaching can be an extremely rewarding profession, right? Because with the introduction of the pay commission, the 6th pay commission, 7th pay commission, in terms of just the salary, right? It's extremely good, and you get to stay young for much longer than normally would, right? You're always surrounded by students who are, much younger, and that kind of helps you, remain young for a lot longer, right? Even now we have staff versus student cricket matches. We play badminton, we play table tennis. Just a month ago, in the last week of April, we had cultural performances by faculty members and staff members in our university, where we sang, we danced, and we did everything, right? I can't imagine another profession where you get to stay connected to the youth as deeply as we do, right? And in order to get into teaching, and then once you become a teacher, the thing is, there is so much more that you can do while you're a teacher, right? You can get research projects, you can do empirical research, you can guide students, and you can help people in a way that you like to. You can have your own principles and you can follow them unflinchingly, right? There is nobody who can pressurize you about what research you want to do. If you want to work on a particular area, if you want to work on a particular social problem, you're free to do that, right? It's freedom of a different kind, right? It's a freedom to think independently, right? Nobody can stop you from thinking what you want to think. Nobody can stop you from implementing what you think, and you're on your own essentially, right? Apart from that, if you're not interested, let's say, and there are all kinds of students who end up in a law school, if advocacy does not excite you, or law firms do not excite you, you are somebody who is more interested in deeper social problems, solving the political system and things like that. A decade ago, the range of opportunities which were there for law students were like barely minimal. Today, that's increased a lot. Professor Dr. Ray briefly mentioned about think tanks, right? 15 years ago, when I passed out, there were virtually no think tanks in this country, right? Today, you have Vidhi, Daksh, Agami, CLP, like there's a whole range of them, like who are looking for people who can think originally, who can look at problems at a macro level and figure out a way how to solve those problems. So, once you get into law, we all have personality types. We all have our own personality types. Somebody is an introvert, somebody is an extrovert, somebody wants to do things, run around all day. Somebody wants to sit in a desk and not move at all. The beauty of law is that once you're good in law, the range of professional opportunities can accommodate almost all kinds of personalities, right? There is nothing that you can't do after doing law, right? So I will stop at that, and sir, I will take your leave. I have another meeting. Actually, my colleagues are just waiting outside, so I just put them off for 10 minutes. So thanks a lot for having me here. And I congratulate ASBM University for starting this program, right? And they're in very able hands. Professor Vinay Kumar Das, who is my own teacher and from whom I have learned so much. So I look forward to a great program that ASBM University runs through its law school. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Tripathi. And we are really sorry that the program continued late.
No, sir, that's perfectly. So these things happen, sir. We are all bound by professional constraints. So no problem at all. No problem at all, sir.
Particularly, what I feel that you are enjoying your profession, particularly the teaching, and really I am happy to know that you are very, very much enjoying your teaching. Okay, thank you, Tripathi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So now it is open for discussion. So if anybody has any question, so they can share their question. So the floor is open for discussion. So it is already late because our time was from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. So my thanks to all the eminent professors, particularly all the resource persons, because they have given their valuable deliberations. So let us come to the last part of the session, last part of the webinar. So at the end, I must thank to all the eminent speakers for their valuable information and experience which they have shared with the participants. It is high time that everybody must know the scope of legal education, because with the change of time, the scope of legal profession has been expanded, and now it is not confined only between bar and bench. So being the coordinator of the webinar and the Dean of ASBM School of Law, I must extend my hearty vote of thanks to our revered President, Professor Biswajit Patnaik, our Vice Chancellor, Professor Kalyan Shankar Rai, and for their vision and have a webinar on this topic. And once again, I thank to Professor Patnaik and Rai because they have allowed us to conduct this webinar. So thank you, sir. So I must extend my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to all the eminent speakers, Dr. Manas Shankar Rai, Mr. Aruna Patnaik, Professor Rangin Pallab Tripathi for their encouraging discussion and sharing their experience regarding the new horizon of the legal profession. So thank you, sir. I must thank to all the participants, our faculty members, as well as all the staffs, those who helped in making the webinar as successful. So ASBM Law School is a new age law school having BA LLB and BBA LLB honors course. The law school is recognized and approved by the Bar Council of India. And from this academic session 2022 and 23, new batch is going to be admitted. So all are invited to our ASBM School of Law. Thank you. Thank you once again. Jai Jagannath.